everybody, welcome back to my channel. Chances are this is your first visit. Today I'm going to be talking about why I believe Assassin's Creed Valhalla should be a unique IP, not connected to the Assassin's Creed series, similar to Watch Dogs. So the first thing on my list is that the stealth mechanics are what made Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed. That's what differentiated it from other open-world adventure games of the era. A major function of the earlier games in the series was the use of structure climbing. Jumping from roof to roof, climbing up windows to reach higher levels of structures, and being able to scope out the region and find your target. It was also a major mechanic when it came to assassinating enemies, jumping down from roofs, hiding in haystacks, waiting around corners for for enemy guards to walk around so that you can attack them in secret and hide their bodies so that you will not be found. A major function of the earlier games were enemies where you had to stalk or tail your enemies. You usually did this by hiding in crowds or running on roofs. But I'm worried that in the new Assassin's Creed game, Valhalla, you won't be able to do this since it's mostly going to be, I assume, forests, since it is early medieval Vikings. They didn't really have cities as we think of them today. Think about all those times as Altair or Ezio where we had to follow Templars and keep a distance without being seen. I can't imagine Vikings doing that all that much. It just doesn't feel assassin-y. Also, by their nature, Vikings are warriors. They are not assassins. Sure, they might have a hidden blade, but do you really think that's going to be the main function of the game? We've already seen in the gameplay trailers that have been released that it is a heavy action game. Sure, the earlier Assassin's Creed games had action, but they were usually a response to you failing your stealth. And action scenes in the earlier games were very short-lived as they were not the heart of the series. You could also usually combo or counter your enemies to defeat them very quickly. And from what I've seen, that's not something that you can do in Valhalla. It wasn't in the last two games, at least, sadly. This massive change in the genre, I believe, happened with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, where the Overton window of the series took a massive shift from medieval stealth to near modern-day piracy, and it was much more combat-oriented. Though I will say that Black Flag still is an Assassin's Creed game because, it was advertised as one, and there's still enough stealth in the game for me to consider it part of the core Assassin's Creed genre. While I like the piracy scenes and the ship battles, I feel like it should have been a separate game, but that's not the topic of this video. This is about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, using Assassin's Creed Black Flag as a segue, I'm going to move into the modern-day Assassin's Creed games, such as Origins and whatever the Greek one was. I haven't played it. These recent Assassin's Creed games have taken... They're just not stealthy, not to mention that they removed many of the core elements, such as countering, which was a core... It was the center of the original trilogies, or quadrilogy, I suppose. It was the core of the original quadrilogy's combat. At least I spent time mastering countering, because that is what I enjoyed the most, and the new games lacking it is a huge turnoff for me playing them. And from what I understand, Valhalla is going to be exactly the same way, and that... Now I'm going to get into my next point. Now, let's think about Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs is set within the same universe as Assassin's Creed. In the Watch Dogs universe, the world was once ruled by a powerful superhuman race known as the Isu, just like in Assassin's Creed. And in Assassin's Creed, there is an organization of hackers that are working to take down corporations like Abstergo. Watch Dogs. They take place in the same universe, but they are not directly related. Sure, there are crossovers, but that is not the center of the series. That doesn't make sense. um, from what I understand, Watch Dogs was originally supposed to be an Assassin's Creed game, but they decided that it wasn't similar enough to the old game, so they made it its own IP set within the same universe, very similar to Portal and Half-Life and TF2. But I think that they should do the same thing with Valhalla. I think Valhalla is way too not Assassin's Creed. I think that they should make Assassin's Creed Valhalla its own IP within the same shared universe. I think it should simply be called Valhalla. And there should be references to Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, and future Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs games should reference Valhalla, but I don't think Valhalla itself should be an Assassin's Creed title. I think it would be better off as its own standalone world with its own lore and characters and gameplay. I feel like taking Assassin's Creed in this direction it's really removing what made Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed. It's no longer a stealth game about the Templars and the Hashashin Order. It's no longer about the bloodline of Desmond, which is what the series was originally meant to be. It's now just historical fiction, which it always has been, but it was historical fiction with a purpose. It was historical fiction following the story of this one bloodline that was heavily in touch with an ancient civilization and had the ability to save the world. The new Assassin's Creed games do not have this plot point. Desmond is dead. As far as I know, his son has remained in the comics, and we're not going to be playing as him anytime soon. So I feel like Assassin's Creed is no longer Assassin's Creed, and it sorrows me to say that because I love Assassin's Creed. It's one of my favorite series. Assassin's Creed was one of my first stealth games that I'd ever played, if not my absolute first stealth game. And I love Assassin's Creed with a passion, but the new games, they don't feel like Assassin's Creed. And I feel like I have made my peace. Say what you will in the comments. I will probably respond. And thank you for watching, if you have.